Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple. Chelsea currently lie in the Champions League positions in the Premier League, and many would consider this a great achievement, considering they've had to deal with a transfer ban, meaning sacrificing expensive transfers for an influx of youth. And the man at the helm has been none other than Frank Lampard. He's used interesting tactics, not all of them perfect, but let's take a closer look at them. And to illustrate some of his tactical tendencies, we will be using stats, and a good place to get these stats for teams and players is OneFootball, which is today's video sponsor. It's the premier football app with so much more than just stats, including news, transfers and more, and is completely free through the link in the description below. Under Mauricio Sarri, Chelsea grew accustomed to a very specific type of play, using a high-intensity 4-3-3. In fact, they played the same high-possession, high-intensity style in almost every match, as evidenced by them using a 4-3-3 in every single League and Europa League match. And for a closer look at Sarri's Chelsea reign, check out the cards in the top right. Lampard has already brought increased tactical flexibility. So far this season, he's already used 3 formations more than 5 times in the League and Champions League. Most commonly, however, he's opted for the 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1. Early in the season, his preference for the 4-2-3-1 made sense. He had become accustomed to the system when playing under Mourinho, from whom he must have learnt a lot tactically. It was also the system he used for the majority of his first season with Derby County. Add to that, the fact that Kanté was still coming back to full fitness, the double pivot of Jorginho and Kovacic made sense. However, as the 4-3-3 has been used most, let's examine how Lampard likes to attack using this. Lampard, like Sarri before him, likes to play out from the back, and with Kepa looking to find Zuma and Tomori, who are the most commonly used centre-back pairing, and are encouraged to be confident on the ball and to try to find the midfielders. However, whilst both are competent on the ball, if they are pressured they may also be susceptible to making errors or be forced long, as shown by the rising rate of long balls compared to the Sarri era. However, the increasing long balls are also a chosen tactic. Sarri was much more rigid, insisting on and facilitating a style of play where short passing option was always available. Lampard is happy being more direct when options open up to go long to Abraham, who's a capable target man. But when they do progress the ball into midfield, Lampard advances both his fullbacks, usually Azpilicueta and Emerson, as opposed to more conservative managers who operate a one-up, one-back philosophy. And Jorginho is just as crucial to the play as he was under Sarri. His varied passing range allows him to dictate the tempo of the play and move the team up the pitch, as he averages the most passes out of the midfielders. With Lampard's less possession-oriented style, he averages significantly fewer passes per game, but he gives more permission to his midfielders to take risks and try and penetrate the midfield and find one of the forwards. Despite seeing the ball less, Jorginho has averaged the same amount of key passes, significantly less long balls, and slightly more dribbles. And all of this has resulted in a higher XG build-up. Partnering Jorginho has been 2 of Kovacic, Kanté and Mount primarily. Their roles vary depending on who they're playing. Against more possession-oriented, high-pressing teams, Kanté and Kovacic have been preferred. This is because these teams tend to press higher and may set a man on Jorginho, so the presence of Kovacic, who's just as comfortable from deep, forces them to make a decision. Either one of them will be free, or if the opposition commit an extra midfielder, it would then free space for Mount on the wing to move into the half space. Kovacic is perfect to move deep alongside Jorginho, as he's an excellent passer, averaging the second most midfield passes whilst also being able to break the high press through a dribble and thus opening up the pitch, with his team high 2.7 completed dribbles per game. And with this makeup, Kanté, like last season, has been used as a box-to-box midfielder. When breaking from deep, he has the energy and dribbling ability to drive the entire team up the pitch before releasing the pass, usually to his fullback, and can dominate the entire flank. When they transition defensively, he has the pace to fall in, but crucially, when the aging Azpilicueta advances, he can potentially cover this space. His increased attacking output is shown by more key passes, dribbles, crosses and long balls per game. But often in games where Chelsea expect to dominate, Mount comes into the Kovacic role. And from here, he likes to push high, almost as a secondary striker with Abraham, whilst Kanté will be slightly more reserved, but still ahead of Jorginho. From here, Mount is not shot shy, looking for a goal from range, or to play Tammy through, and we have a dedicated video on Mount's tactical role linked in the cards now. So let's look at chance creation. Again, Lampard isn't afraid to go long, as Abraham can look to run in behind. This is helped by the wingers often tucking into the half spaces, which may attract the attention of opposition defences, freeing Abraham. He may not have to drop deep to link as often as, say, Morata had to under Sarri, but Abraham can still do this as well, and this works well in tandem with Mount, when he pushes high, running beyond Abraham as the third man runner and looking to get on the end of a flick on. But in general, Lampard encourages his wingers to come in off the touchline to support Abraham and to try and combine, whilst also allowing his midfield to push higher in support. At the same time, the inside forwards can have a shot from range. This drags the opposition centrally, and Lampard gets both fullbacks to fly up the wing into the wide areas. From here, the inside forwards flood the box with Abraham as the fullbacks look to whip in a cross. This is shown by the increased crosses per game under Lampard. As Emerson and Azpilicueta said, "We attack with the fullbacks and we're trying to find the solution in the box with more crossing and shooting than last season. Last season, we were trying more to get through the lines with short passing." The lower emphasis on high possession football is evidenced by a slight drop in possession, a lower opposition passes per defensive action, which in simple terms is the number of passes they complete before losing the ball, and lastly a lower number of average passes 20 yards from the opposition goal, as they are more direct, looking to get into the box sooner. This is also supported by less short passes per game and more long balls. But defensively, Chelsea have experienced problems this season, as evidenced by the rising goals conceded per game. One major reason for this is the organisation in attack. To get his attacking plans to work, he has given his team positional freedom, with players being very interchangeable. But as a result, the team does have a tendency to leave large gaps between themselves, which allows the opposition to hit them on the counter. One of the major ways this is happening is through the flanks, as both fullbacks are encouraged to push high. When there is a turnover, the opposition can freely attack through the flanks. In addition, as on the attack both free eights tend to push higher up, a greater defensive load is placed on Jorginho, shown by his rising tackles and interception numbers. And there is potential for him to be overrun in the midfield during the transition. In the entirety of last season, Chelsea conceded 2 goals on the counter, and this season, that number has already doubled to 4. But generally, without the ball, Lampard likes his team to press high up. The 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 quickly morphs into a 4-4-2, with Mount joining Abraham and the midfield pushing higher in support. Chelsea will then encourage the opposition to play wide, where Chelsea can then look to close them down in a confined space. This increased high press has borne some fruit, as shown by the reduced passes per defensive action of the opposition, rising tackles per game, and the midfield all having more interceptions per game than last season. But strangely, although most of the team does support the press, often the centre-backs can be seen lagging behind, creating a gaping hole in midfield, which the opposition can break into if they break the first line of press, and this lack of compactness has been a major problem for Lampard. In addition, Lampard's demands for a game-long high press are helped by playing so many young players with the energy and desire to cover large distances. However, even for them, fatigue does tend to sink in towards the latter part of the game, and the press becomes disorganized, leading to chances conceded. This is evident as in the last 15 minutes of the game, they have faced most of their shots, conceded most of their goals, and their expected goals against. But when forced back for long periods, Chelsea drop deep into a 4-5-1, and this can be difficult to break down. And with the pace they have on the flank, combined with Abraham's ability to link the play, Chelsea can be deadly on the transition, as shown by the marked increase in counter-attack goals. But Lampard will sometimes use a back 3 formation, so we'll just point out a couple of the key differences when he does. During the build-up, it immediately gives them an advantage, as they can advance knowing that they have an extra man who can potentially shift across to cover them. Lampard loves to have his inside forwards tuck in, and the wing-backs make this easier by providing consistent, genuine width. During the build-up, Lampard is now more comfortable allowing one of the 3 centre-backs to carry the ball into midfield and beat the first line of press, while still giving them the numbers in midfield. At the same time, when defending, Kante in the double pivot is less likely to advance, and therefore he gives the team greater defensive solidity, which is aided by having 3 centre-backs behind him. And this quote from Lampard after the Wolves game summarizes this. It has been nowhere near an easy season for the Blues, but with encouraging results and performances, Lampard has brought much more than a feel-good atmosphere by showing his tactical acumen. But what do you think of Chelsea and Lampard's tactics? Where do you think they'll end up? Drop it down in the comments below. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.